All right, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of the BCF Podcast. And very exciting day today as we finally have a good basketball player on this podcast. Actually, some of the guests have been pretty good. The host, not so much. But we're excited to have Cappie Pondexter on, who in a long and storied WNBA career had a lot of accomplishments that we'll talk about and go through, but also someone we really wanted to have on the podcast to talk about her experiences both across the country and across the world as a Black woman, as a women's basketball player, and as a star women's basketball player as well. So, Cappie, welcome and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys. I'm so happy to be here to talk about my story and just interact and have a good narrative. You know, I think it's about changing the narrative right now, and I think all of our stories and our opinions are important, so I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
No doubt. So for people who aren't familiar with your Hall of Fame career, because you are a future Hall of Famer, let's keep that apart.
Definitely.
You are a two-time WNBA champion, WNBA Finals MVP, seven-time WNBA All-Star,
Get 'em.
three-time WNBA first team, All WNBA second team 2011,
Get 'em.
WNBA All Defensive Team 2010, WNBA All Rookie Team, and twice you've been selected to the top 15 and top 20 team of all time. So, I mean, that is just sick and unbelievable. And I mean, I'm happy because, I mean, you know, we've been friends for a long time and I've always been rooting for you. You know what I'm saying? And I know our paths are different with me going different places and you having your, you know, Hall of Fame career. I'm just really happy for you. And I'm really excited that we get an opportunity to talk to you today. So that's what's up, man.
That's great.
It's crazy. It's crazy. For people that don't know, me and Cappie first met in Colorado Springs, even though we both played in the Big East. We were both playing for our national teams and getting ready to head to Izmir, Turkey to win our gold medals. But that was your second one, and you already had one gold medal.
Yeah, I started at 15. Like, my coach in high school, a lot of people are not familiar with her. But if you have a chance, Google her story. Her name is Dorothy L. Gators, right? So in high school, she produced probably like 30 All-Americans. She sent probably like 60 females to college. And she's the winningest coach, male or female, in the state of Illinois. She's unbelievable. So she was like, you know, a Nike endorsed coach in high school. So she was like, yo, you're not playing AAU. You're going to play USA basketball. I'm like, what? All right. I'm going to listen to you, you know, like, because you have like the answers and you know, as a mentor. So I just was like, all right, I'm just going to do what she did. And I went and tried out. And it was just like something that I didn't realize it would lead me to a bigger moment, you know, later in life. And I'm thankful that she pushed me, you know, because I didn't understand what representing your country was really at that age.
Yeah, you know, obviously, like we talked about before, Craig and I were roommates for 4 years. And I remember when he came back from that trip, he was like, man, I met somebody really cool. Like, you know what I'm saying? You'll like her. And then it was you. But like you said, you've been at this for a while as far as the Team USA and sacrificing things. So you could just kind of talk about the sacrifice that, you know, the things that you have to give up that even good college players who don't get selected to Team USA, you know, they don't have to go through some of the things you went through.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when you look at the lists that are out politically, that gives you like the top 1 to 30, those are the players that you're practicing against, that you're living amongst during this time. So it's like the best of the best, all from all over the country. And it's just like you have to represent who you are and where you're from. Like, that's the only thing that matters. And if somebody gravitates towards you, then that's the beginning of something great. And you don't realize it when you're at that age. You just like, you're living in a moment and it's so fun and everybody's just having fun and we're doing something that we love, that it's just like, man, like, you don't think about, like, now we can actually have conversations about all these great things that we've accomplished for our communities. But aside from that, like, in that moment, you're just like, I want to accomplish something. That's what you're thinking about. And everybody's thinking the same thing. And that's amazing to be around that company at that age, you know, because it's not like we have that opportunity to do it all the time. It's not like that for our community, you know. And when you do have the opportunity, I think it's an amazing experience, you know. And it's not like you can't do it. You can do it, you know. It's just a matter of, like, how do we get the kids to understand that it's possible, you know?
For sure. And I feel like sometimes in letting them know it's possible too, it's just by telling them and by showing them. Because I know some of the things I do when I go in the inner city, as I talk to the kids and I try to tell them my story, by telling my story of being an inner city LA kid, hopefully it goes a longer way because I have some experiences that they're going through, you know what I'm saying? So they're able to identify with that. And by being able to identify with that, obviously gives them a little bit a feeling mentally to let them know it's reachable. You know, it's actually something that's doable. So definitely. Tell us about your upbringing in Chicago. What was that like?
It was rough. I mean, as a kid, you know, like, my dad was in the Marines. You know, like, I was born in Camp Pendleton. So when he don't laugh. Oh,
wow. Yeah, Oceanside, baby. Oceanside.
So, like, when he moved us, I left with my dad, but my brother and my mom left first to Chicago. And when I came back with my dad, like, it was like a culture shock. It was different. You know, I was used to parks and swings and sand and water, pools, to just being outside. You know, it was just different. And being around a lot of people. Like, I wasn't around a lot of people. I was around my nanny. That was it. That was all that I knew. And so it was a little different for me and my brother. You know, my brother gravitated towards the streets when he went to Chicago. You know, like, he the one that taught me about basketball. But for me, it was just like, I was like, I don't want to do that, you know? I want to chase something else. So it's a little different. But, you know, growing up in Chicago was cool. You know, it taught me how to be tough as a person. And, you know, just like, I didn't realize that a lot of people don't make it out of Chicago. And just being one of the people that do, like, is just a testament to my family, they hard work, and just my commitment just to doing something great.
Yeah. You know, like you said, you know, coming from Chicago, I mean, the whole country is aware of the statistics nowadays. I feel like they use it as an example all the time. But what you talked about your high school coach and how influential she was to you. But we all know it only takes one mistake, you know, and we have a lot of friends. We all have friends who just as good as we were, but for whatever reason, something, you know, happened along the way. What kept you on that straight path to, I mean, obviously become the person and the player that you became today, and didn't allow you to get derailed?
I can't just say one person. I think I'll be selfish if I did. I would just say a core group of people. Like, my family was pretty much everything. Like, my family really didn't know its past and where they were from. You know, we knew we migrated from Mississippi, you know, in St. Louis to Chicago, and then from Florida to Chicago on my dad's side. So it was like, it was a little different. You know what I mean? Like, my mom was strict. She was militant. She just believed that, you know, to be successful, you got to be strong. You know, that's the only thing that she knew. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't until recently, honestly, that I told my family where we was from. Like, we're Nigerian and Jamaican. So obviously, if you look at the pedigree of anybody from those places, it's just hard work and loyalty and family. And so it's just like, when she was raising us, she didn't allow me to go outside past 9 o'clock. Once the lights came on, that was it. Like, you could do whatever you wanted to do. Go around the block. Don't go too far. Go to the court. I know they're watching you. But when that light come on, come back to the house. Go upstairs. Go wash them dishes. Go do what you got to do. And that's it. But my brother, you know, he was able to do whatever. You know what I mean? Like, he was like the father figure for me and my mom, so to speak. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't know. It was just, you know, growing up in a single household is a little different, you know, but I think she was strong enough and her message was clear enough that it allowed me to stay focused and pursue something. You know what I mean? Because it was never about not pursuing anything. She was more keen about in education more than sports. I can tell you that. I can be honest. I fought for that, you know, because I truly loved it and I was great at it. And then when she realized I was great at it, she still stressed education. It was always about that. And I think that's something that I will always remember, you know.
Definitely. So now speaking about education, right? In college, you went to Rutgers University. You played for the legendary Coach Vivian Stringer. How was that experience like, and how did you grow as a person and as a player?
It was great. I'm a nerd, though, low-key. I'm a gangster nerd, you know what I mean? So, like, people look at the exterior part, and they're like, dang, man, she this girl from Chicago all rough with these tattoos, but, like, I'm really a nerd. Like, I like to learn and educate myself, and I do have all my diplomas from every level. So I believe in education. I believe that it really is the key to success, no matter what it is, other passions you decide to pursue. It's always something you got to fall back on. And I think these times are really showing it. So Rutgers was cool because I didn't know. I knew about the basketball part because Coach Stringer was the reason why I decided to go to Rutgers, solely alone, nothing else. Not about the university itself, but when I learned about the university and how cool it was, like a lot of people think that Caucasians are the majority at that university. They're not. It's the Asian community. Probably a little more, 7% African-American Caucasian actually attend the university. But it's almost an Ivy League school, so you have like tons of information, whatever you need to learn, to educate yourself, the resources are there. It's a big university. Like, you either have to have a car or learn the bus system. And then, like, being an athlete is like a real cool perk because, you know, the Booster Club are really big about the athletes there. And it's a lot of money. It's, you know, David Stern, rest in peace, his soul, but he is definitely a person from there. Bill Bellamy, Queen Latifah, like, we have a huge alumni. And, you know, Paul Robeson, like, you know, like the first African-American to attend Rutgers University. So it's like, it's a cool school. And then they have a women's college. And I think that, like, that was really significant because, like, a lot of universities don't have the aspect where it's just women on their own campus learning about other strong women. You know, that's not normal. So to have that school was very important for our university. And it was Black led too, and founded by a Black person. So that's amazing for me. But the basketball, obviously that's the part that everybody knows about. It was great. You know, they treated us really well as athletes. We shook UConn up a little bit in the Big East. We made things difficult for them. And, you know, that was always good for women's basketball. It was giving parity to the game, and I think it was necessary. A lot of people don't talk about Coach Stringer and her importance in the sport, you know, whether male or female. Just as an African-American in the time of the civil rights, being the only figure at that time to really allow girls to come to college, I think it was pretty cool, and play basketball. So, you know, I just have a lot of respect for her. She taught me a lot about the game, on and off the court, and yeah, I'm just thankful for
Word.
One of the things I like to ask people, especially, you know, from your background prior to college, so you're leaving a place like Chicago, you get to a predominantly white institution. Were there certain obstacles in your mind or hurdles you like, I got to leave this at home if I'm going to be here? I can't bring this side of Chicago with me.
Yeah.
Is like, if so, can you just, expand on that, elaborate on it a little bit?
Yeah, my junior year, I got excited about the draft. I'm like, oh, I got an opportunity to make it. Like, this is cool. It's really happening. Accolades coming in. I got a little big-headed, I think. So I went to New York in the summertime, and I was having a good time, and I stayed the whole weekend. Came back for a paper that I had to do. It was like a 2 or 3 page paper. I was so lazy. I wrote the introduction and the outro to the paper and plagiarized the rest. My teacher caught me. I got kicked out for a half a semester. They made like all these headlines like, yo, what, Cappie's pregnant, she's on drugs, like all this crazy stuff. But they didn't know that I had plagiarized and got kicked out of school. So those are one of the things that, one of those nasty traits that I kind of brought to Rutgers. That what I was saying was just wasn't necessary. But it happened, and it was a good learning lesson, and I hope that others were able to learn from me. I got lucky, by the grace of God, that I was granted an opportunity, I had to go before like a judicial judge at Rutgers and plead my case. But prior to me doing it, a week before, a gold medalist swimmer got expelled from the university. He was a white male. He was the best swimmer. He got expelled. They kicked me out for a half a semester. So I was very thankful that they were lenient. Because it was my mistake. I was being lazy. I wanted to go to New York because it was right there. It was the summertime. I thought I could get away with being a student athlete, a privilege, and no, the teacher she was European, and she was just like, no, she believed in education. And it just taught me a very special thing at that moment.
Yeah, and speaking of Rutgers, and yeah, I think it's, great that you learned from that and, obviously built on that. And it's good to hear that you're a nerd just like I am. But on another Rutgers note, I believe what was shortly after your time there, quite in an infamous incident, radio personality Don Imus called the Rutgers women's basketball team a bunch of, quote, nappy headed hoes, which was a national story for a long time. So how did such an absurd statement make you feel, especially directed towards people you obviously knew and would consider yourself part of? And how did you react to that at the time?
I really didn't react the way that I thought. Obviously, we know it's a business side to everything. I'm a smart individual. I understand. I've been having media training prior to the time, so I understood the situation that was going on. I had to let the university and Coach Stringer handle it. Obviously, she texts, the young women text me to, make sure I was okay. Because these are practically teenagers going into adulthood. What do they really know at this age? What do we really know at this age? Here he is, I don't know his age, 54, 56. He lived through a time where he probably was taught some things. And we know what he was taught, racism. It's obvious. That experience that those girls had to deal with wasn't the first case an African-American group of women had to deal with that. No, Serena Williams, Venus Williams, they had to deal with it too. And because they had to deal with it, I think we all learned something significant about his character, that he obviously just didn't like Black women. But I just thought that it was just too much. But the system obviously rewarded him. He got a contract after he was fired, and it was a huge contract. Rest in peace his soul. I have no ill will against anybody that has an opinion about whatever they have, whatever that they're going through within their soul. I can't fight that demon. I have my own demons, and as we do as people, we have, that's just a part of life. And to fight whatever he was fighting, I couldn't do it. I later made a statement about it probably recently, like 2 weeks ago, because I was just like, it revisited my mind. I was just like, wow, And these are people that are actually doing something positive in the world. You know, and this goes out to any successful person. Like, everybody has an opinion about something these days. And it's just like we're all just trying to make something great of ourselves. Like, why do we fight each other so much as a race? You know, and it just bothers me. You know, like, what are we chasing? What is it that we're really chasing? Nobody knows. And it's just unfortunate, you know?
Yeah.
So if you don't mind me jumping in. So Cappie, I just got a quick question because I'm a college coach now. I obviously deal with 13, 14 college age athletes on a regular basis, and what that's going on right now, with 11 of my 14 players are Black. They all feel like they want to do something, and you going through a situation like this, is there anything that you guys did afterwards that you feel like empowered your team? Or in hindsight, is there anything like, I wish we would have done this, or we could have done that differently to, or bring more awareness to a situation?
I think they handled everything really well. I think the players did a great job of like just stating how they felt in a very professional way. I'm sure they thought other things too, you know what I mean? Like, it was a tough situation that they had to go through publicly. But this is to anybody that they're kind of going through a situation like that. It's just, I mean, like, basketball is a business. And I think the most important thing is to know that it is politics involved. And there are two sides sometimes, you know, it's just the nature of life right now, you know, like, we have all these different races trying to be in one society, you know, and you're going to face obstacles, you know. I faced them in my career, you know what I mean? And I think the important thing is to just remember what you're doing. You're doing all this because you love it. And because you love it, like, you're going to give everything that you got to it. Like, forget it. Like, it was awards that I thought I should have been awarded publicly. I didn't get, you know what I mean? Like, it was just obvious. But I'm just like, all right, I'm just going to work even harder to be the best version I can be. And then you guys read the accolades, and it's a reminder to myself and anybody that's listening that, like, yo, it's going to come. Something's going to come to you no matter how it's placed. It's going to happen. And I probably should have had more awards, you know? But that's just me as a competitor. But now I know that it's not life, you know, it's not everything. It's just something that you love, you know what I mean? And you got to embrace it that way and know that the good is going to come from it, just from hard work, period.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to end the discussion on that part, to flip that narrative of like Nappy Headed Hoes, because that phrase became pretty memorable.
It's an ugly phrase. I hate it so much. I mean, because like sometimes I tell myself that I'm nappy-headed, and I'm just like, dang, am I really nappy-headed? If I actually comb my hair, I have waves that are like sickening. So it's just like, it's just in the person's mind. You know what I'm saying? What it is, metaphorically, it's just an educational thing. Like, no, I'm not nappy-headed. Like, nah, that's impossible. Like, nobody's nappy-headed. Like, what is nappy-headed?
Yeah.
I mean, we know what a hoe is.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But I mean, like.
Yeah. So I was going to say, to flip that, if you could describe your teammates in a different way than the direction he went, what would be a short description of the people you played with at Rutgers that you would call them?
They're all amazing, and they're all doing wonderful things. Like, I posted a photo of Coach Stringer, like, players that were in the WNBA, and it's pretty sickening. And I was just like, so all of these ladies were able to make money, to make a difference in their family lives, and to pursue a higher education, you know? I mean, I think it's terrific. And a lot of them now are in their, like, starting their third careers. And I just think it's really cool, you know, that they're keeping the torch alive to empower women that look up to them, to empower their family, to empower their community. I just think it's cool, you know, because it's not often that you get to see people that look like you. And when you do, it's cool. You know, like I had to grow up looking at Michael Jordan, and he's not even from Chicago. I didn't get to grow up looking at a woman because, I mean, later, you know, because they started implementing it in the women's game. But prior to that, it was just MJ. You know what I mean? As a basketball player, it was just MJ. So, you know, I think it's great. I think it's amazing. I think it's wonderful. We need it.
Yeah, so I think on the note of the WNBA, I think maybe we should talk about that. 'Cause we have a 36th pick in a draft on here, but you were drafted a little bit higher than that. So I don't know, Craig, if you want to dive into the WNBA of it all.
I think the WNBA is a great entity. It's 25 years young. It's a baby, you know? I don't even know what seed round they're in for investments. You know, that's how early they are as a company. But for me, it was just amazing to do it for 14 years. I think they've grown so much, like in the way that when I first entered into the league, I remember our jerseys were sponsored by Reebok, and they were outside our jerseys. And outside our shorts, and we didn't have to tuck the jerseys in. Like, I remember that era, you know, like, it's just like cool to be a part of. Then to go to Adidas, and then to go to Nike. It was just like to see the transformation from the players, like to Brittany Griner, you know, to Candace Parker, to see like all these incredible players like transform the game was just really cool. And then Deladon came in and mixed it up. And you know, you just got a lot of cool players now. And I think it's cool because the people are interested in the product because of their stories. Because the stories are being told. Prior to that, I don't think the stories were really being told about players, what they were doing like off the court to form that like level of trust and interest. The men's side was doing it, obviously. You know, they've been thriving a lot longer. So, it's just a little different. Like, people think that the WNBA and the NBA should be the same thing. It's not. You know, it's just two growing businesses. I'm thankful for the NBA support, you know, because, I mean, for me to even play for 14 years, to do something I love, like, it was because of the NBA. So it's cool.
Yeah. And because my reference was vague before, Craig was a 36th pick. You, if I am correct here, you were the number 2 pick in the draft. So what was that like, being a top 2 pick?
Yeah, what was that night like?
I was spoiled. They flew me to Phoenix, you know, showed me the nightlife. And then like, yo, you gotta get up. You gotta get up. You got interviews. What you think this is? This is a business. And I was like, what? All right, I'm excited. I'm ready. I'm hyped. I've never been to Phoenix, so it was really cool.
Nice. I got a quick question, because when I remember when the WNBA first started, and I don't know about this to this day, you can't tell me there's a better woman shoe than the Cheryl Swoops. The first pair of Cheryl Swoops, I actually had those as a kid. So, which, as far as women's shoes, who would you say has the best shoe?
Cheryl Swoops.
Yeah, the was tough.
Yeah, the Swoops was hard.
She was my mentor, like, outside. Like, she was the first, like, women's basketball player in my life. And, I was so happy to wear sneakers. I was like, this the female Jordan. Like,
yeah. That's what everybody in the neighborhood had them joints. And, not for it to be a women's shoe, that was crazy, because everybody, when they came out, everybody went to get them. Like, the whole neighborhood had.
Nah, that's a fact. Nah, I think, like, the way they like branded her was like super cool. They did it. They were both like important figures that they branded really well in Nike. And they were. I think they led a generation. I hope that they talk about their story together, because like she was the first person that Jordan signed that was a female. Like the first female he signed under his signature brand. So it was cool. Like, I wanted to really hear their story, and then obviously like they talk about their love interests. That'd be cool to talk about. Like two important figures like that at the time that just share the interest. It'd be cool to hear about. I love both of them, with everything I got. So
I used to like the Kyla Pratt commercial, the Nike commercials. You know what I'm saying? Like those
that was tough.
Those were real dope.
No.
That was something special that Nike was brewing, and you can see like the evolution really coming in. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, you had Lisa Leslie, she dunking. You know what I'm saying? Cynthia Cooper out here, young Tina Thompson, shout out. You know what I'm saying? It was just, I think it was a really dope time, and I was a big fan because I've always been a big fan because my mom taught me how to play the game. You know what I'm saying? So I've always been an advocate of women's sports because I feel like women can do the same thing. And I feel like what's crazy is, and it's true, they got better. You guys have better jump shots than us, and we'll always.
That's true.
That's just the truth and the nature of it, and it's crazy. But just like, because it's a show, it's in the shoulder. It's in the shoulder how you guys have like you guys have that perfect form. And I mean, you have guys like Steph who don't have normally a lot of muscle right here, but it's still like, it just looks more pure coming out your hand.
I mean, we do practice it. It's not like we can practice dunking like you guys do. You guys are above the rim, so it's a little different. You know, it's the art is just different. You know what I mean? Like
I can't even give y'all that now due to evolution. You got more girls dunking now. Easy.
That's kind of scary. I don't know about that generation.
I want to see a dunk contest.
I'm out of it. I don't know.
It's coming.
Somebody gonna come with the cradle though. Tell it. The windmill? A windmill? Hey, I'm telling you, it's coming. It's coming. For sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just like, honestly, I'm kind of out of the game right now. You know, like after retirement, it just, my mind and my focus and my energy has just been in a whole different direction. Like, obviously, I go back and give my time, like you, to the youth and go talk to the kids and stuff and do camps here and there. But my mindset is just achieving something different.
Yep, new goals.
Yeah.
New goals. So, all right, based on your whole WNBA career, what do you feel like is your greatest accomplishment?
Dang, that's always hard to say. I mean, I would just say hearing my name called on draft day. You know, you dream about that moment, right? When it's like coming near. Yep. You just like, and then you hear like the build up of what number you're gonna be called. It's like a whole thing in your mind as a person. You know, you just like, man, what if they don't call me? What if they do call me?
Yeah. Like
where I'm going, what city? It's like all these thoughts. And I think that's like, when it actually happens, it's like one of the greatest feelings. Because you just like, you get a sense of letting that final breath out and you're like, all right, it's here. It's go time. But then it's just like that first game too. So I would say being drafted in that first time you put the uniform on and then playing in your first game. Those are like probably the most special moments for me.
Nice. Before we get into the serious questions, I got one. When you think about, you know, going to the WNBA and getting welcome to the WNBA, so to speak, who's that player you're like, ooh, I got to step my game up? You know, the first time you felt like, I got to get better.
I would say my first game as a rookie, it was against Sacramento. They had Tisha Pinachero. They had
Dimes.
They had Rebecca Brunson. They had
PG.
Rudy Bolton.
Rudy Bolton, yep.
They had what's the rebounder name? I can't think of her name.
She was on the Lynx and she just retired, right? That's
oh no, not Rebecca Brunson. Why I can't think of? She's from Chicago too. I had a brain fart, but God bless my soul. I mean well, but yeah, like they had a team though that just won a championship, and I was just like, man, we got to go against them. But I had Taurasi on my team, so you already know, like that locker room was amplified. So it wasn't really no room to think like that. You know, she molded me right away because she knew she wanted to win a championship in the WNBA. Like that was her mindset, you know. So she was just like, "Nah, Cap can play. She she with me. Bam, like, nah, she's not a rookie. We're not treating her like that. And she allowed me just to be who I was as a player. You know what I mean? Like, she didn't have to do that as a veteran, you know? So it was like, so it was cool. But it was a great experience overall.
Nice.
What was it Bird might have won abroad, but Craig, Bird, and I were denied some titles in college by, you know, Bruce Pearl and okay, too, great. We care about Cap. We don't care about you. We were denied by Bruce Pearl and Craig's USA basketball coach, Jay Wright, in our college time from winning a title. But you've won some titles in your day. So what was that like?
It was a lot of hard work. I can say that. It wasn't easy. Like, I think the hardest thing is just getting along with teammates every single day. You know, like, trying to figure out, like, their temperaments. They're trying to figure out your temperaments, like, your moodiness. Like, everybody's going through these moods in and out of the season. It's just like, all right, how can we all get on one accord? And it's like, once that one accord clicks, you know that you have the opportunity to win a championship right away. Once it clicks, and you just stay on the path for wherever moment you are at, once it clicks, it's just like you just stay there to win that championship. Like, you don't shift. You don't like no clear shifts, and then that's how you know you have a championship team. Like, and I think it's just it's beautiful to watch and experience, you know.
Sure. All right, get into a serious one. Have you ever dealt with systematic racism, and in what context?
Wow. Yeah, of course. The only context that I have to give you guys is the WNBA. You know, like, that's the only thing that I've experienced in my life. Like, you know, I talked about those awards earlier that I know that I should have had. Like, for instance, and I'm happy with everything that God placed for me in my life, but I want this to be told because I want it to change. And I think it's just time for change. And I remember in the All-Star game, and we were losing. I forgot which city we was in, but it was it was a lot of money put into this All-Star game where it was a lot of, like, you know, publicity. And people were tuned in. And it was like 2 minutes to something to go in the game. We won the game, but we were losing the whole game. We came back. I had a triple-double. My team won. The vote went in 3 minutes prior to the game ending. And they gave an award to a whole nother player on a losing team on TV. Like, okay, tell me what sport has that ever happened in?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, NBA, and the only person I can think about, like, it would be when Jerry West lost. He got Finals MVP. Remember that? But I guess that's something totally different. But it's just like he lost. He lost in the finals.
But it's the same thing that I'm saying.
Same
like,
thing, yeah.
That shouldn't be that like that. You know what I mean? Like, if a player deserves to win something, like, it has to go to the player. When does voting happen before a game ends? Like,
That's true.
We're changing rules now. The voting usually happens at the end. Like, it's just systematic things that I think, you know, it's just like they want to pick and choose who the awards go to, what teams the players go to. Like, it's too much for me just for a game. And I get it, it's a business and there's money involved, but it drive people crazy. At the end of the day, like, people are really mentally losing their mind from this game, and it shouldn't be about that. It's beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Like, once we get to this level, and Craig, you understand what I'm talking about, that, like, once you're fed a certain thing and it doesn't happen anymore, they push you out, it's tough for people to deal with, and they don't give you a transitional program to help you fight through that feeling that you have after the first couple years. You know, you will get it after a while once you figure life out, but you don't even know what real life is about until it's like time for you to have to deal with real life. And I'm just tired of hearing these stories, and I'm tired of people going through all these mental health issues just because of the sport. I think it's just time to speak about these issues. And I think there shouldn't be politics. I just don't think it should be politics. There's ways to sell tickets. People are branding themselves so well now. Like,
yeah. I agree with that politics stuff. Like, absolutely. It should be out. It shouldn't be a driving tool used, you know what I'm saying, in the games today. But like, how can we work around that then? How can we start something that, you know, we can work around that?
I mean, that's a great question. I think cleaning the game up, starting with the referees, I mean, the betting. I mean, it's a lot of things that we can work around, you know what I mean, to kind of clean the game up, you know, like we got to stop changing the rules in the game, softening it up. Like, no, I mean, basketball is a contact sport. Like, that's what it's always been. Like, we can't just keep changing all these rules to make it appealing to the fans. Like, that's crazy. Like, we got players changing like their whole aesthetic of who they are as a basketball player, and it's just like, what is this? Is it a show, or is it people playing basketball? I'm confused. Like I don't know what it is anymore. And it's just like, and I don't know, because I've kind of went through the purity of everything, and I've seen like the game change so much, you know, like, I don't know. I just wish we'll go back to the essence of everything and just make the game like fun again.
One of the things I always say, like when we were growing up, we all graduated the same year, obviously, but there were multiple ways you could win a game, you know, and either we could be tougher than you, and we could go out here and just out-physical a team. Obviously, if we're a more skilled team, we can win. But I think right now, with everybody being on the perimeter, they don't allow you to touch people. Like the people who were just physical, and either you're gonna have to meet my aggression or I'm gonna run over you, they're kind of being pushed out of the game for somebody who can shoot a three.
Yeah, why couldn't I be in high school now?
But you know, if you could just speak to that, and like you said, how the game just keeps changing. They're changing rules for the fans. It's all for the fans, and because they think it's a prettier game, they want to score more points. But you know, for a purist who just loves the game of basketball, like we want to see that. Like we want to see, can this dude score on Tony Allen? You know what I mean? Like if you're this guy, you know, we don't want the rules in your favor where he can't touch you. He's like that. Like we want to see that.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm gonna give Stephen Curry his roses because he changed the game of basketball. Like, whether we want to credit for him or not, he is the GOAT of what we see in NBA game right now. He is that. And I mean, like, he's an amazing shooter. Like, we've never seen nothing like Stephen Curry ever before in the game of basketball. So, like, that's what the game has grown to, because the kids want to see that. They want to see these crazy shots. Like, this man practices aesthetic, you know what I'm saying? Like, so the kids are doing the same thing because it's exciting for the game. Like, to hear the announcers talk about, like, oh, Stephen Curry just hit this crazy shot. Like, that's just where we are. But I think, like you said, you know, the Tony Allens, you know what I mean? Like, Tony is a different breed. He come from that Jordan era. Like, and it's because of Chicago. You know, he really grew up in the slums of Chicago. And I can't wait for people to hear his story to understand, like, why he was the way he was. But Tony he's a special player. And he was tough, and just basketball players are not like that anymore. The game finessed. From off the court, they give you everything that you want. You never hear no. Like, that we finessed. To on the court, that's how you playing. Like, I'm this pretty boy, this pretty girl. Like, I'm getting all these gifts. Like, I'm here to, you know, it's all like showboat. You know, it's like a show. It's not really just like, oh, I'm here to play the game and compete. You're not my friend. It's not that mindset anymore. It's just totally different.
Yeah.
So sorry, one more thing I wanted you to just kind of go back into was that transition. You know, after, you know, you're getting on the back half of your career, you're starting to see, you know, the light at the end of the tunnel. Obviously, you know, Farnan and I weren't in the WNBA or the NBA, what is in place, you know, as guys or women start to phase out of the game, or what needs to be in place?
I think there should be a transitional program. Like they give you like these internships and stuff that you can be a part of. It's valuable. I mean, it gives you like what you need like after college, but you're in a hard like stop, like you really passed that part. So now it's just like you need something that you can go to right away, you know? And I don't think they give you like those outlets so that like if you don't have income coming in for the next 2 years like you used to, something that can help you, you know what I mean, transition from living that lifestyle, you know, because you go from living a certain lifestyle to saying like, okay, well, I can't really, because there's not a lot of, but there's money saved up, you know, but it's still different because the bills are just piling up and piling up. So it's a lot different than actually when the revenue is coming in, you know? So I think that it should be like a 2-year transitional phase that they should put in place for us to have. So that way, like those mental breaks that we kind of take in our minds can kind of be like, not with a Band-Aid over it, but like really taken care of. You know what I mean? So that like when you're mentally ready to get back in the field to work again after working all your life physically, you're able to do it. You know what I mean? Because you suffer from PTSD. You do. Whether people want to admit it or not, it's real, you know? Whether you have money or not, you still suffer from this disease because you're used to doing something at a higher altitude than most normal people. And then all of a sudden it's like, there's no more, it's a hard stop. And I think they can they can put more money into that. You know what I mean? Like, okay, 401k is double. How about y'all triple it? Triple 401k. How about y'all have something in place where we get money for the rest of our lives on a monthly basis?
Right. Especially,
you know, because
you bring in.
It's a lot of duty into this, you know, this position of power. You know, like I know numerous times where we just flew in from a 2-week road trip and I had a road appearance. I had to do an appearance right off the road for 2 weeks for hours. That's mentally draining and tough. Like you want to get to your family like right away. That's what you want to do when you've been on the road for 2 weeks, you know, but like there's things like that people don't understand that you have to go through as an athlete. You know what I mean? Like little things like that. And it's nothing, I'm not saying that you shouldn't give back because we do all the time, whether it's addressed or not. Like that's what we're constantly doing throughout our days. Like if it's not basketball, it's giving back. It's signing something. It's making a video about something. I just think it's time that like they pay those things back to the retired players.
Yeah. It's almost like a catch-22 because, you know, for you to get to the level that you've gotten to, you got to sacrifice a lot. And a lot of, you know, trying to learn these other things and all of that. Like, can you be Cappie Pondexter, the Hall of Fame player, if that was my focus, if I was focusing on these other things? So a lot of times what happened, and especially in, you know, when you talk about European players or players, Americans who play in Europe, you're so focused on your career, and next thing you know, you're 10 years in and haven't really worked on another skill for when I'm done with this. And 95% of us aren't going to make enough money where we don't have to do anything ever again, right? You know, there's a small percentage of people who make that kind of money where they never have to work again. But like I say, you're so invested in your career that we don't, you know, like I'm not gonna go get a side job in the summer or something like that. Like I have money right now. So you haven't built that network outside of basketball. And I think that's something that can, you know, should help, or the NBA or the WNBA should help bridge that gap into the next life, because it's a fact. Most of us we're gonna have to do something at some point after we finish playing ball.
Craig, I'm not sure, like, about the NBA, but I know the WNBA really didn't talk about like financial literacy the way that I thought that they could, because like, I mean, we all make enough money where like we can invest it, but a lot of us don't, you know what I mean? And
yeah. Now they just, wait, what are you gonna say?
I'm just saying, because we're living, you know what I mean? We're living in the moment. A lot of us are living in the moment and just focusing, like you said, on our craft. So there isn't times where, I mean, there are special people that learn things, but they also have a lot of more room and opportunity too with the money too. So it's a little different, you know what I mean? Like for certain players, I'm saying, but like for the players.
I felt like they did have these classes, but the messed up thing was we would have to do them after practice. Right. Like we're already tired and you want us to go in there and sit in here for an hour and have this guy explain it, and it's only an hour. You only come in once, maybe twice. So it's like we do get these different types of courses, but it's always after practice or on an off day. Something that we probably don't want to do at that moment right then and there. Like when you're done with practice, you want to leave, go home and rest. You don't want to like compact your mind now with a gang of loaded information for 1 hour. You know what I'm saying? Like that's tough. And I mean, they're trying to work on different avenues. And I mean, they do reach out to us to try to get like some input and stuff like that. But I just feel like, certain situations got to be in play and they got to be better, because it's just like we shouldn't be having meetings after practice. Like, you're not going to get a lot out of people after practice. I'm sorry. Like, especially in that space. Dudes is hungry. Dudes trying to get out of the gym. You already know, trying to get out of the gym. I've been in the gym since 8. It's 1:30. Like, you know what I'm saying? So you have that aspect, and I feel like that needs to be a little bit better as well, because you need to get us where we are able to focus and learn and ask questions and not have different things going on in our mind, like, damn, can I go get my food? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like all these different type of different things that come in your mind. So I just feel like there can be better ways that things could be brought to where guys can learn things and not be in a situation where they feel like uncomfortable about it, I guess.
Yeah. And one thing I'd add there is, like, I think with a lot of the things we're talking about now in society is like education is really important, and especially earlier on in life too. And that's one thing where, like, if I were a politician, which I'm not, and I don't want to be one, but one thing I would say is like financial literacy should be like, a middle school or high school class for everybody, because
absolutely.
Look, I didn't take chemistry in high school. It hasn't really hurt me in life. If I wanted to be a doctor, maybe, otherwise, like, whatever. So of all the things you take in high school or whatever, I think financial literacy would, trump a lot of them in terms of importance, and it matters to everybody no matter what you do. So yeah, I think that's, that would be something societally that would be important. And yeah, hopefully, especially for, professional athletes who also, as you guys know, have a lot of people like coming after them, and like everybody thinks you have more money than you do, because like, if you yourself aren't paying a 50% effective tax rate, you might not realize that most athletes do. So I'm talking as if I'm an athlete, but so like I think it's important for athletes, it should be, but even before that, that's something where, as a country, like, it's not just athletes that don't manage their money well, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I think the curricular in high school should change in general. I think they should definitely change. Like, it should go back to when carpentry and like photography, like certain classes were important and implemented in the schools. Yeah, home ed, like stuff, trade. Like, I think they should just bring it back, because those are essential things that we use now, all of us, and they're important compared to like fake history books that nobody has any knowledge about. Like, math is important, I think, to a certain degree, to a certain level, but everybody doesn't follow it after high school, So, I don't know. It's all weird to me. I think it should definitely change though, Ryan.
Nah, you're right. It should definitely change. And I feel like I used to get like 3rd, 4th, 5th grade in history, all of D's. Like it just like nothing stuck in my head with that. And like as I got older, I realized, oh, now I know, because it's like none of this shit is real in here. Like, what is this? Like, I'm learning false history, and I don't even know my own history. It's like, man, I see 1, 2 black dudes in here, and we only talk about him in February. Like, get that out of here. Like, it needs to be rebranded. The history really needs to be rebranded. And like you said with math, like math I feel like it goes a long way with us as athletes, because it's like we love angles. Like, so that's easier I know that was way easier to me just to be in math. Like, oh yeah, I can do this angle and that angle, get my geometry on and my little algebra. But I mean, majority of that stuff, you're right. Like stuff needs to change, because it's just like these kids are not learning it, and you're in a class and you got 50 other kids in the class. How can I learn? How can I learn in an environment with 7 of my homeboys is in here? Not only that, everybody else talking. Yeah, we out here laughing. We balling in here.
Yeah, and it's on the financial literacy standpoint. I think a big part of it too is, Cappie, you talked about all the people that helped you get to your where you got to, and in our culture, just the way we are, we feel like I got to help those people now, right? They've sacrificed for me, and just a little like on a personal level, I would probably say between Craig, Ryan, and I, like Ryan's coming out of college was the more financially educated one.
Yep.
And I got no problem saying, I said to all my players, here, blew the check, like, because I never had money, and I ran through it, and whatever my friends wanted, and whatever the case may be, but I never had the opportunity to do that. And I always bring the story up of Ryan and like, what are you doing? Like, what are you buying? Like all this type of stuff. And I'm like, listen, bro, like I never had, like I always wanted that. Like I'm gonna buy it.
Ryan's on Amazon buying all his necessities for the cheap.
So I did not go play professional basketball like these guys right after college, as much as I thought I was qualified for that. But like my first year out of college, I made, I think, $38K, and I contributed to my 401k that year. And I ate a lot of chicken nuggets and bagels and things like that. So,
Smart.
But, what'd you say?
I said you're smart.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah. But it's, yeah, I think most people probably wouldn't think that way. And, I just tried to, like, save a little bit. And I did, I remember yelling at Lewis and definitely at Craig when the Bentley came into play.
Billy was nice.
Nice, though.
Yo, you got a real friend. He yelled at you about
No, yeah, he yelled at me on a few occasions.
And there was a shirt you were wearing that you told me how much you paid for, and I was like, come on, man.
Yeah, that shit's probably trash. I ain't gonna lie. It was probably dope in the moment, but it was probably trash.
Craig was balling. I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I think that stuff's important for everybody. So hopefully as we're looking at changes in the world, that's like something general that can be too. And Cappie, another thing I'd be curious about, like going beyond just on the court. So you've played in various places across the US, you've lived in various places, and then you also played abroad too, because, especially for women's players, there's some really great opportunities outside the US. So maybe a little bit on the court, but more so off the court, like as a Black woman, what have been your different experiences across the US and across the world?
everything for me was a great experience. Like Russia was amazing. Obviously, like going in the grocery store in the beginning, like a lot of the old people like would like look at me and my family in the grocery store down the aisle, like we were aliens. Like, what are you doing here? Never seen anyone your color or look like you. But they got adjusted to it once they figured out that we were in town to, you know, do whatever it was to do for the city. Turkey was amazing. I've never had any bad experiences in Istanbul ever. No racism, no form of racism. But I can say when I lived in Australia, I was called the N-word for the first time ever in my life. I remember I was at a restaurant and the guy came in and was like, we were at a jazz bar. And he was like, who let this in here? I'm leaving. I came in here for jazz, blah, blah, blah. And it was the first time that I was so upset. I was like, yo, I can't believe in like 16, 17, like, really? Wow. And I mean, he was a big guy. I wasn't in another country. I wasn't going to do anything. I was just like, I just took it and just like, dang, that's so unfortunate. And everybody was like, don't listen to him. Like, we're not like that. You're always welcome here, blah, blah, blah. Because it was like in Australia, like if you go to restaurants, they had like all these slot machines and stuff. So people would play slots and cards in restaurants, like pubs and stuff that were like neighborhood restaurants. And so like, you know, random like men would come in and gamble and stuff like that. So it was just like, that was my only ever horrible experience with that racism abroad. But other than that, I have an amazing time. I think they embrace African Americans or African people a lot more abroad than they do any other place. It's a lot more easier for us to like just breathe and be who we are. I'm not sure why. I don't know if they look at us because we're sports figures or whatever mystic feeling they have behind us, but it's just like we're well respected in whatever city or country we go to.
Yeah. And that is obviously like a horrifying thing that I can't relate to, and I'm sorry that happened, but can I just for a moment get a little laugh out of the fact that at a jazz club, someone was surprised there was a black person there. Once again, that person might want to look into the history of jazz, which ironically the NBA team named the Jazz is also like incorrectly named because they moved cities, but like, yeah, that's what happens. That's on multiple fronts a statement of ignorance from that person.
Yeah, who does he think created jazz, dude? Like, you go into a jazz bar and you racist talking about I want to hear jazz. What?
I was shocked, yo. I was just like, first of all, I had never been called that word before, and I was just shocked as hell. But I think I was more shocked that I didn't react to his ignorance. And I was just like, all right, bro, whatever. And then like everybody, because I was going to the restaurant because it was like, you know how we are as athletes. We go somewhere in another country. If we find somewhere that's comfortable, we're going to always go there.
Yeah.
And that's where I was always at, you know, like listening to jazz music, having wine and dinner and stuff. So just like, it was weird. I don't know, like people are weird, you know. It's all weird right now.
Yeah, the saying that's going around now is, I wish white people loved black people as much as they love black culture. Like they're pulling up for jazz.
Yeah. Well, you guys know me. I'm the opposite of that.
One thing you have hit on a few times that we've discussed on here is athletes' privilege. So we've talked about, you know, obviously white privilege, now black privilege on Twitter nowadays. But on this show, we've discussed athletes' privilege and just how your experiences may be different than others based on who you are. Just the access you may get to things based on who you are and what you've accomplished. And I don't know if you maybe ran into some, you know, Africans or African Americans in Europe that didn't play a sport. But you know, can you talk about athletes' privilege a little bit and some of the stuff that you get because of who you are?
I mean, I think athletes' privilege is real. I mean, like, if we don't talk about the root of where it come from, like, it come from slavery. You know what I mean? Like from being in a house or a field, like that's real. But we don't want to talk about these issues that's to stem from people's mindsets these days and carried from generation to generation. Whether we want to talk about it or not, it's a real thing. And I think it's important that we start talking about what's real to help us deal and heal from everything that we've been traumatized from. You know, I think it's important. And for me, like, I would say I had an incident where one of my friends was locked up in Germany. And I had money, obviously. And I'm not saying what he did was right or wrong. I'm not the judge of that. But I was able to get him out of jail just because I had the money and I had the lawyers from our presidents of a club to help get him out of another country. So I know that was privilege alone. You know what I mean? Like, and there's a lot of instances like that. And I think, you know, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, that was just a privilege, a moment that I had to help a friend, and I did. I used my privilege. So. And it does exist. You know, everybody has their different moments or experiences, but it's real. And I think we should continue to talk about these stories and address it because, like, we keep talking about white privilege, but it's just not just white privilege, you know? Yeah. Black privilege is athletic privilege. There are different classes of privilege. And I think that could be the root of all this stuff that's happening right now. It's something that we need to address. Like, privilege is a real thing. And maybe we need to address these privileges and redirect the energy towards them and make new rules so that everybody feels comfortable in society. And then we can move past all this like weirdness that's happening in all of our lives.
Definitely. Because I'm gonna just say there was one time I was able to use my privilege, and I was headed to San Diego for Dudley's birthday, and I was doing like 90 to 100 on this private road, and next thing you know, I get the police right behind me, and they're like, pull over and get off. And I'm like, oh, I'm about to go to jail. I'm wilding. I'm doing 100. And I go in there, she's like, license registration. You know, I was serious. Just hand her my license. 2 minutes later, she apologizes to me for pulling me over and telling me to have a good night in San Diego.
Wow. She looked up your whole identification.
Looked up the whole thing. And at that time, I was playing for the Clips. So it was just like.
You home.
I was home. I knew I was home. I was like, thank you very much. Wasting my time. No. But yeah, it was cool. But I was like, how you know I'm going to San Diego? I know I'm on this route, but like still, like how do you, I could be going to Mexico, but it's just like, you knew I was going to San Diego. What, you got something funny? You got a Farnan fable?
No, so for Farnan Fables this week, this is the first time I've ever met Cappie, and it's been lovely, but I obviously have no prior experience. So I'll flip this one instead and Cappie ask you. So one thing I used to do from time to time at BC when I wasn't just waiting on these, so I was a manager of the basketball team. So I spent a lot of time just like helping these guys, you know, function in life. But once in a while I would play. There were a bunch of guys that played against the women's team during practice. And what I distinctly remember is I've never gotten so many elbows thrown at me in my whole life. So it was a lot of aggressive basketball. And then the other thing was, as I said, I was a manager, so that was important for me. So Cappie, I'd be curious from your perspective, A, if you have any interesting or funny stories, if you ever had any of those practices playing against guys and what that was like. And B, if in your college or professional career, if there was like a manager or someone on the staff that became like a friend of yours, kind of like Craig and Bird and I, or at least they pretend that they're friends with me. So.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It was weird. Like my relationship, my whole basketball like career, my relationship with like the managers and the ball guys, like anybody that had anything to do with like helping me like really work on my game or whatever, being in the gym, I was always good friends with them. Like, it was a mutual respect. Like, if you respect the game, you respect people that want to help you come better. You know what I mean? Like, and we don't talk about you guys enough, you know, and I think we should start, because you guys are definitely integral in our career, you know what I mean? And like, in terms of like that support that we need, that we don't really say, that's there to help us become who we are, you know, like, nah, really, we got to shout you guys out. So I would say in New York, this guy named David, he now works with the Las Vegas Aces with Bill Lambier. And he went to Rutgers. He was a ball kid there too, and a manager. And he ended up going from there to the Sparks. Like, I mean, not the Sparks, but the Liberty. He would shoot with me like every single day. He was my rebounder and passer, like every single day. Like, and like when I think about my career in New York, like statistic wise, that was like some of the best years that I had personally. And it was because of him, you know, like our dedication together, the commitment we made. Like, even when it was days that I wouldn't, he was like, nah, Cap, we got to do the ritual. We cannot. Yeah. You know, I'm like, nah, I got to go. And he got this little window right here. Nah, Cap. Like, nah, let's just get this amount in. Like, let's do this, you know? So I think it was important. It's important to have those relationships. Not everybody can say they have those relationships with managers and ball people, but I think they're important, and I've always respected it from like day one. So kudos to these guys, man, for real, for keeping you by their side. They smart.
Yeah, Luke Water.
Yeah, we did more for this guy than you'll ever know, Cat.
Than you'll ever know.
I used to have the what was the thing when Craig practiced his post moves, so I could pretend like I weighed a lot more, was taller, so I'd hit him in the back with the
little pad.
The pad.
Yeah, the pad or whatever. That was always fun.
So
probably
fun.
Should have had him practice his free throw shooting more, but
I've actually gotten better though. But see,
I know
it wasn't even because, well, it was actually because of a new routine. But what I started doing more was every day before a game, I actually started reading more. And it locked me in. And that was my ritual, to get 10 or 20 pages before every game.
That's dope.
And it just started to develop more. So it was definitely that. Ryan, you definitely was telling me to read more, so I finally got it, 10 years later. But but it let me focus. It dialed me in. It locked me in. So then I was able to, because I had a problem with like controlling my adrenaline down when I've got to the line, because it's like we're running, we're up in pace, right? Then we got to stop. And I think that was the part for me where it's just like, stop. I feel like I need to move again, or I'm about to shake or something. You know what I'm saying? So it was like I just needed to calm myself down and just lock myself in. And it went better. Bird, we could have won more games. Could have been 24-0, baby. But
I was gonna say you ain't really missed that many when we needed them.
no.
You clutch for sure.
Yeah, and them times, I ain't trying to, especially that Pacific game, dude. Like, what was that, 0.5 seconds left or 1.5, something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was just like, all I can hear my mom in my head, like, boy, if you miss these free throws, But I think it was just like, I don't want to lose. I hate losing, and if it's on me, dog, I'ma definitely get it done. So
Sweet.
Just that confidence power. It was just like, yeah, I could be trash all game, and at the end, if you give me 2 free throws, they cash.
Definitely was a clutch player for sure. Always.
Thank you. I know. See, so what happened was they actually came to our championship game, but they came at like halftime because they had their own little party because they already won. Like, they won their goals, so they was already all partying and stuff coming to the game at halftime. and I was done because I had pulled my calf. But I already had 16 though.
No, you was in a bad mood. You was in a sad mood the whole time.
I was, because I pulled my calf. I was like, man, because they had this dude and he was a first round pick, and I was like, yo, if he guards me, I'm about to go for 40 on this dude. And Jay Wright was letting me go at it because it was like I was like an intangible because I was that tweener. Nobody could really guard me inside or outside. So it was just like when it happened, like Sheldon and them, they got really tired. And I just went off for like 16 points in 8 minutes. And I remember it was Jerry McNamara's. You know when you just pull up for 3 in transition when you don't need to? And so I had to make that stop, and the transition turned back to defense and blew it out. I was hot. But it was cool because it was crazy because it was like I've only played 12 minutes in the championship game with 16 points, and nobody else scored no more than 15. I thought that was crazy. But yeah, I wanted her to see like me go for 40 in there. I was trying to go for 40, dog.
Nah, you was definitely balling. But Jay, he let you have your way. That was like your team.
Yeah, he did.
You was definitely a different player. But everybody knew that though from the beginning. We boarded the plane when they said like the finalist names of who was making the team. We kind of knew like it was like your team and it was like my team, like secretly.
For real.
A lot of buckets.
A lot.
A lot of buckets. We was having
Hey, Cap. About to be on my stalker vibes right quick.
What kind of stalker vibes?
So tell me what you were thinking, or if you can remember this tweet. What if God was tired of the way they treated their own people in their own country?
Wait, what?
What if God was tired of the way they treat their own people in their own country? You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that tweet. But what is it in reference to though? What am I saying that tweet towards?
The earthquake and
tsunami.
Oh, so Michelle Vopal. Okay, yeah. Oh my God, God bless her soul. She did a horrible thing to me as a kid. So if you actually go to the actual tweet thread, you will see, for instance, the conversation that says, dang, Japan hit with tsunami. God doesn't make mistakes. That was the first thing. But if you know me as a person, like you guys have been knowing me for the last hour and a half or whatever of us communicating, I have no ill will against nobody, no matter what preference, whatever you are, what color. I love you if you show love back. That's just how I am. And for her to dig deep into a conversation that I had with somebody and add it all together in an article and say that I said that the tsunami happened in Japan because God was punishing them because of the Pearl Harbor. She put all these different threads together. So it wasn't me saying this. She made an article and said that I said all this happened because of God was punishing them because of Pearl Harbor. I'm not stupid. Like, I place judgment on nobody. Like, why would I even make a comment like that? But I had to chalk it up because at this time I was playing for New York. And obviously, they're like one of the biggest media markets in the country. And I had to basically, I was threatened for like 3 months, like hardcore. My family was threatened. They knew our family's address, and they took my passcodes. They took my Twitters, my Facebooks, like every social media that I had. The organization took it and held it for like 2 months. And I didn't tweet. I didn't put out anything. And I was just basically like, just sitting back, just watching and seeing what people were saying. And it was just like crazy because my family was really like, they was threatening stuff over like an article that she wrote. But then I learned at this time that like that's what media does. You know what I mean? Like they took a whole, this is when Twitter was like popping. She took a whole situation and made it into something that it shouldn't even been. Like anybody knows me knows I'm artistic. They're a part of my culture and there's no way that I can like talk about any Asian person because they inspire me and I know the real history behind Asian people. So you can't like, you can't, you know what I mean? Like flip something like that to make it seem like I said it, like I'll never agree to it. Before I agreed to it because I had to play, but now I won't agree to it. And whenever it comes up, like I have to tell the truth about it. Like I'm a God-fearing person. I'm a spiritual person. I'm religious. You know, I have a religion. I'm in the religion of Islam. But when it comes to like judging people, like with God, like those are two things that I'll never do. And I don't know, it just sucks that I had to go through that as a young person. But hopefully it's a reminder to anybody else to learn something from. You know what I mean? When it comes to social media, like be careful because it could be flipped to something else. You know, she's a beat writer. She's looking for any story to help her career.
No.
Clickbait. Everybody's,
Clickbait.
They'll change the title to what people are gonna gravitate to. Whatever can get them the most clicks and views. That's what the media does nowadays. That's the game.
Yeah, and it sucks. It's unfortunate because it's just like people are distorted. They don't know the real truth about certain things. And I don't know if it's the systematic that they want people to have this like pretense of what it is like or what it should be. But like, I don't know. I can't live like that no more. You know what I mean? Like my kids, I want them to know the real deal so they can go through life and understand like people's temperaments and attitudes and feelings. You know, like I don't want them to be blinded in real life. You know what I mean? So it's like these are things that are important for me. So I'm always gonna I'm gonna speak about them like when I feel a certain way about certain things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's one of the things. Like, you know, maybe another episode that, you know, I think we really have to get into, because that's why I also asked you about your experiences at PWIs at the beginning, because I do think that there is a lot of things that we suppress or, you know, try to work around so that we can have successful careers, and it shouldn't be that way. You know, if something's not true or if something, you know, isn't being put out there the way that it needs to be, you know, typically, like, I don't want to ruffle any feathers. Like, I'm trying to get somewhere. So, you know, whatever I got to do so this goes away quickly, that's what we'll do, instead of, you know, addressing it head on, because we feel like that's what we have to do for the betterment of our career. And it sucks that it's that way. And I think media people feed off of that, because the more fire you give it, the better they look. So we tend to just let them say what they're going to say.
And I agree with you. I think I had to take a bullet for a lot of athletes, male or female, because like here I am, a Black female playing basketball with spotlight, like with hell of a career, making money, and I have all these tattoos, and they're looking at me like the Iverson of the WNBA. You know, this is how they're judging me. You know what I mean? But our attitudes is a lot different. We did a lot of similar things. You know what I mean? But this is what I had to go through my whole career, treating me like I was a Iverson, or putting that image about me like I was Iverson. And I have nothing against Iverson. I think Iverson was an amazing, like, athlete. You know what I mean? He helped shape the culture, like, in terms of, like, coolness, like bringing coolness to the game outside of Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? He birthed a whole different culture. And I think people that grew up in his generation could relate to that. Like, I could relate to Iverson, but like they put that stigma on me without even knowing me. You know what I mean? And I think that kind of altered a lot of things in my career. But I've always spoken up. I took bullets for a lot of people. Like, when you look at like all this cool shit all these athletes get to do, I was talking about it in 2006 when I got drafted, but they were looking at me like I was crazy, or like my ideal was just too much. It could never be like this. You're looked at as you're not focused. Like, it was just so much. Like, I remember after I went to the Olympics, 2008, 2009, I won the championship with Phoenix. 2010, and I asked to be traded to New York, and I played a whole year with no superstar player, and we made it all the way to the finals. I mean, Taj McWilliam Franklin was there, but a lot of people didn't consider her a superstar at that time in terms of, like the accolades, or it wasn't a Taurasi, you know what I'm saying? Or it wasn't a Cheryl Swoops, or it wasn't a Don Staley, it wasn't a Lisa Leslie. Like, it wasn't that kind of caliber player. Although we respected her, she wasn't looked at political wise as that being that player, you know what I mean? She was on the squad. We had Janelle McCarver. Nobody even really heard of these players, and we went all the way to the finals, and it was just like it was a lot for me to on my body. Like, I had to go through so much physically that I was like, I can't go to the World Championships, I can't do it. I physically can't do it. But I wanted to go and rest my body, but I decided to go to a fashion show. Now, if you know about anything about fashion shows, you know that you walk in and you sit down for the show, and that's it. Somebody took a photo of me, thought that I was Serena Williams, and it went viral. And literally they was like, oh, she's at Fashion Week, so she want to go to Fashion Week and not play basketball in the World Championships. And so from that moment, my whole career changed from that moment. And it was just like, oh, you want to do something that has nothing to do with basketball. And it was just like, damn, like, I don't understand what y'all not understanding, what I'm understanding. But now it's cool for everybody. I had to take that bullet, you know what I mean? Like, I had to. And I'm thankful because, like, I know that I have something else in store for me. I'm going to get my credit for whatever it is that God has for me. But I opened a lane for athletes to be able to do a lot of things, outside of just playing basketball. Like, they can actually enjoy life and brand themselves and make money from it. You know what I mean? So I think it's cool.
Yeah, that's what's up. Somebody always got to fall on the sword. The first one,
Yeah,
buck the system or try the system. We see it with Cap. Now I think it's funny that everybody's like, I'm kneeling, and they're like, oh, it's no fine, so everybody's gonna kneel now, right?
I wouldn't kneel. I wouldn't personally kneel. Nah, because like, I'm loyal. I believe in American. What America stands for. I believe in it. I'm not American. I'm African descent. I have no American trace in me, but I believe because I was brought here, my family was brought here, I still believe in fighting for America. Like, that's just what it is, If I'm going to be in this country, I believe in serving it, and I don't believe in disrespecting the flag. I just don't. I don't believe in kneeling. I'm not going to do it. I don't think that kneeling is the answer to an American song. Like, that ain't the root or cause to fix things. You're a public figure, so anything that you do that's out of ordinary is gonna draw attention. That's just my personal opinion. If people with Cap, that's cool. I don't have nothing against that man, but like, for me, like, kneeling ain't the answer to make things better.
Yeah, I guess I was just speaking on more how it's not penalized anymore. They've said there's no penalty. And now there's been hundreds of players that's like, oh, I'm kneeling this year.
But what are we kneeling for, though? What is that changing? That's what I mean. Like, it's become a trend thing. Like, what are we kneeling for? Like, okay, we knelt. He knelt. That was it. Now, what's the next step? How are we fighting to make change?
Yeah.
I think that's the important thing. Like, I don't know. Like, y'all asking the wrong person, I guess, for these questions for today. Like, because my view on these things are just like, I want to see change. We could do anything that looks cool. We could wear a shirt, like, look at my shirt today. It says end racism. But if I'm not fighting and talking about these things, does it really matter? If I'm just on this podcast with you guys saying, like, look at my shirt, it says end racism, but not really talking about the facts, the things that are really happening from these experiences, does it really matter? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the fight, like, we gotta fight. And I think that's just the most important thing.
Yeah. Like things need to be changed, and like it's just an understanding. I feel like you brought an awareness, and that's what he did. You know what I'm saying? Bringing awareness, but I think at the same time, gotta go vote. Gotta do certain things so we have more funding in school systems and different things, like really seeing the change, you know what I'm saying? Putting the right people in office, that stuff, you know what I'm saying? And really combating these racist schools that want to come out here and do these little whack-ass publicity stunts where they're doing that George Floyd stuff. Like, cut that out, you know what I'm saying? Like, if we trying to do that, let's make the changes in the right way. And let's continue to make them see like how messed up it is. Like, what y'all doing? Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, I definitely understand the awareness of it because you put a stamp on it. And it was just like, for that even reason of kneeling, he had to have a conversation with somebody within, was he in the Navy or the Army, the guy Cap was talking to?
I think Navy SEALs.
Navy SEALs that told him, hey, maybe it's better to kneel than to sit on the bench. But I think in that, it got a conversation started to where it's just like, all right, now what's the next move? Like you said, we got to make moves. Things have to be changed. They have to.
But we're going to all keep kneeling and then kneel in front of all these people. We're just kneeling. What is kneeling really? That's not fighting. That's just, it's showing the action, but it's not really acting. Like now we just got to move past it. And I think the work is important, man. Like for all of us, like we all have our lane. Like you have your voice, Craig, I have mine, you have yours, Lewis, you have yours, Ryan. I think we just all have to make change together. You know what I mean? Like if we're all making change and we're all heading in the same direction, we just gotta continue to get more people that's doing the same thing and just hope for the better, because like they're not front line, they're at this point, like he's a public figure, you know, that's way higher than what we can do, but we're ground level because people know who we are, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But like, we know the front line is just the voices. They're not really like putting the everyday work in, like, you know what I mean? They're not going out there risking their lives like that every day. We know that. Yep. So I think now it's just like, it's time for that celebrity shit it's over with. Now everybody's front line now, man. Like, that's just the way it has to be for change to happen, I think.
Yeah, and like you said, that was something that we hit on in our last podcast was, I mean, if you talk about the leaders of this movement, it's the youngins, it's the youth. They're the ones out there on the daily march. You know, I mean, I know older people want to help, but this COVID thing's going on too. You know, like for my mom who wants to march, but it's probably not the smartest thing for her right now. You know, as far as her health and all that kind of stuff. But you see these young people out there, and I mean, they got a lot of energy and excited, and you know, like I said last week, you know, for us as older people, we need to figure out the resources that we can provide. Because, you know, whether they're 17, 18, there's things that they don't have. They don't have finances like that. They not have the network that we have and things like that. So that's what we can bring to the table, and that's what we can provide. And, you know, and let them, you know, step to the side, let these youngins voice their opinion. Because like you said, like we talked about last year, every generation, we think we got the best athletes, the best ballers, the best rappers, the best this, that, and third. Nobody's ever going to say, you know, this generation is better than mine. But for this, they're better than us, and let them lead the way in any way that we can help and be a Robin or, you know, a supporting player, a role player. Do that, like, you know, and let these youngers know that they do have support from the older generations.
So with that being said, this is the last question. Cap, what gives you hope for the future? Being out of all this that's going on, what really gives you hope for the future?
I would say what gives me hope is every day waking up and gaining knowledge about the things that are happening in the world and also within myself. I feel evolution within myself, and I think if I can continue to be a light, then I know there's light out there. You know, I know there's people like me. So if I can wake up every day and give some kind of light, I know that change is gonna happen, you know, because I know there's people out there like me that think like me and feel like me. And I just don't want them to know that they're not alone. You know, I think a lot of times we're so like afraid to like speak out about how we truly feel on our platforms that we miss out on like the people that really need us. You know what I mean? And I just know if I continue to be truthful about how I feel in this state that we're in now, that I can help people along this journey. Cause I'm not sitting here saying like I'm perfectly fine during this COVID. It sucks being in the house. I like being outside. I like the sun. I like to do adventurous things and eat outside and socialize among Americans and network. I like to do these things. But with this change, I know that I'm changing. And I'm learning about the things that are more important in this life that we kind of skipped over, you know, because we're so busy doing all these other things, these cool things that we love to do. So, you know, I know it's gonna all change. And I just know that we gotta get through this moment, but we find a core group of people that can kind of lead the charge and go the same direction. I think we're gonna be fine. I really do believe it.
As you should. I mean, I feel the same way. You know, it's a change for a good reason. You know, sometimes the night is just as dark before dawn. I guess that's how the saying goes. So it's like
always darkest before the dawn.
Whatever. Yeah. I'm gonna put my stamp on it, Farnan. Thank you.
I think we understood you, Craig.
But yeah, it's just something we got to go through to get better as a collective group, and that's just it.
Definitely. I definitely want to say thank you for coming on. Like I said, I've heard a lot about you in the past, and to get a chance to talk to you in person, well, not in person, but you know, we're doing our virtual thing, social distance. So I want to thank you for coming on. You're our first female that we've brought on the show so far. I'm gonna go second Hall of Famer. I don't know what we doing with this. You know, she's a Hall of Famer. Craig, you're a Hall of Famer too.
Craig is a Hall of Famer.
Oh my God!
You know, Craig, you're a Hall
I'm not an NBA Hall of Famer, even though I feel like I could be. But
bro, first of all, it's only how many? 174 jobs available a year, and you had that job what? How many years?
I had for about 6 years. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's special.
That is special. I'm never taking nothing new. But like you say, the competitiveness inside of me. if I just feel like if I do get a bigger opportunity, I feel like in my mental, the same as like superstar mentality, I feel like it's the same. It's just sometimes you got to have that opportunity, and I feel like you can see it when you're in there, because it's like the people who do good at, like, if you're a lawyer and you're killing the game, and then you got your lawyer A, lawyer B, lawyer C, but lawyer D is just as good. You just don't get up there as lawyer A. You know what I'm saying? So that's how that goes. But I mean, I can't take nothing away. I'm blessed. I had the opportunity to play the game I love against the best people in the world. I got great friendships, as we see right here, all on this Zoom call, man. So, Cap, man, thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Finally, a 20-point scorer on this podcast.
Now it's just going up from here. It's just going up from here.
It's gonna be hard to go up from here, but you know, we appreciate you giving us the boost.
You can't have nobody that has less stats than me. It can't work now. You got to go up. It's only up from here.
Only up.
You got to go.
Only up.
That's a small pool to choose from.
Yeah.
For real.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Speak soon.